Welcome back to the channel. Today I just wanted to show y'all a little quick tip I wanted to share with y'all using things that most people would consider trash to sand furniture. You know, you can buy nice sanding blocks and stuff for doing things like this, but sometimes in a pinch you can use just common things you can find laying around in a trash pile around the shop to help you out with it. First thing I wanted to show y'all. It's this little piece of strip of wood that came off a piece of wood I was cutting on a table saw. Now you could use a good stiff ruler for this trick too, but this is free, this is trash. I ain't gonna do nothing else with it. You can see right here it's got a nice straight edge here, nice corner. So what I can do is wrap my sandpaper along that straight edge, and I can use that to get into tight spots, because it's real hard when you're sanding furniture and stuff, getting in them creases. It can be kind of tough, but you can take something like this and you can get right in there, and you can see how I can get into that crease with that straight edge right there. This being so small, I can get in there pretty easy and get that sanded down real close to that joint. So that's my first little tip. Just a scrap piece of strip of wood like this, or if you got a metal ruler or hard ruler, you can do the same thing with that. This next little trick will help you with rounded edges like this. That's just this little trash piece of plastic pipe that's round like this. You could use a scrap piece of PVC pipe, whatever size you want to use. You can take your sandpaper, just wrap around it, and you can use that to sand them curved areas like that. And it just makes it a little bit easier. You get a little more force on it with something hard like this in your hand versus just holding the sandpaper. It's a little bit easier on your hands. So you can see how that can be very helpful in situations like that. That was a piece of trash too that was going to go in the trash can. Now most of y'all know y'all can go to the hardware store and buy flat sanding blocks to put your sandpaper on to sand flat surfaces. But if you don't have one on hand and you need something in a pinch, you can grab a scrap block of wood. I usually like using a 2x4 better, a scrap piece of 2x4. This is all I have laying around, but this will do the job. In the meantime, what you do is you can put your sandpaper on there any way you want to. If you really want to, you can staple the sandpaper on the sides of it so it stays on that block of wood. Sandpaper gets worn out, you can rip that sandpaper off and staple another piece on it. But I usually just wrap it on there like that and just hold it with my hands. And that sure does beat having to hold this with your hand and do this. This gives you some more leverage on it. It's a little easier on your hands. Anything that's easier on the hands is worth a try to me. Now my last tip today is going to be your old worn out pieces of sandpaper off your palm sander. You can see this one's been worn out pretty good. But what I like to use these pieces for is after I've done my machine sanding, I can go back over places and hand sand. I always like to hand sand after I machine sand. And one thing about it, this has been worn down some. It's still got some grit to it, but a lot of times it'll be in different places. You may have a little more grit here than in another area that you was focusing on when you was using the palm sander. So you can take that, wrap it around like that piece of wood or something, and use these for places like that instead of having to waste another sheet of sandpaper. Also too, if you're doing your hand sand after your machine sand, this paper's got some wear on it, so It's still got grit to it, but it's not as aggressive as it was when it was new. So going back over and hand sanding with these worn pieces kind of smooths it out real nice. So I'll use these up till there ain't nothing left to use of them. So them are a few ideas that I had that I wanted to share with y'all. If you got a woodworking project that you're working on, I invite you to head over to the Mike's Garage Facebook page, post some pictures up on the timeline and share them with everyone else. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, comment down below, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so, and thank you for watching.